So I thought I was coming to talk about something different. And so in the last 20 seconds, I just put together some notes. You'll have to forgive me for
the guy.
at my phone for notes.
So first of all, did you turn your light to green?
Probably not.
Boop, done. Okay, so Darryl's not a typical vendor, okay? Darryl teaches a class on real estate at Tulane.
Professor of practice full time now.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I'm sure that you get a raise with that.
Double and benefits, but
Look at that.
I'm teaching less. So figure that one out.
That sounds like higher education.
Sounds like academia
that sounds
to
like
me.
academia and higher education. That's a BS.
Best deal ever.
Man, you're making Joe Rogan sound real smart. Okay. No, but seriously, you teach, it's undergrads.
And grads.
And grads. I think I was in, you asked me to come
did.
speak to an undergrad class. So you know a lot more about real estate than the average bear. You were also a top producer at Ladder and Bloom many moon ago. You saw there was a problem in photography. You left, started a business to fill that need, sold your company to another business. Then after that, started another one, and here we are today.
Nailed it.
Okay, just trying to bring everyone up to speed who didn't know, but also not bore anyone that already knows. So, Snapply's your company. You all probably have some of the most beloved photographers in town. I would say the most, but you kind of take a different approach because you're a business person at heart, and you get our problem very, very well. How do we use photography to sell our listings? Like, what do we do differently? How do we differentiate ourselves?
So when we started this years ago, when we would be coming to these presentations, and it wasn't it was educating people on why they needed to use professional photography. And now people know that they need to use professional photography, but people have forgotten the why. Why is it important? How does it transform your listings? Why does the choice of the photographer matter? Because it's become a commodity. Anybody could take a nice picture.
Yeah, I would argue it's like everyone's using professional-ish photography solutions now. I mean, it's probably what, 90% you figure?
If
you take the listings that aren't vacant land where you
yeah.
just need a screenshot of Google.
It's very rare that you see a listing that hasn't been done professionally.
But then there's the real professionals, and then there's like the guy that I always run into at a social event that's like, hey, here's my card. I know you're in real estate. I take pictures of houses too. Right. And I was like, dude, if you're shooting a social event and you have a nice camera, that doesn't mean you know what the heck to do in a listing, especially one that looks like crap. Or that looks amazing, and you need to tell that story quickly.
Yeah, so this past year I was trying to figure out, well, what makes us different? Why, if we're all selling a commodity, how can Snapply better bring value to our clients besides just reliability, all of the things that you expect from a photography company. And so I was also trying to figure out, how do we compete with other vendors? Because you have other vendors that sit here. And so how are we going to get it so that people listen to us and not just like, this is another guy trying to sell me more crap because I'm a real estate agent. And so the thought was, well, why don't I bring more of a university setting, more continuing education style information to these presentations? And it sent me down this rabbit hole of psychology and the impact of professional photography, and going back to really 15 years ago, the why is it so impactful. So everyone says you need to use professional photography, but why is it so important? So I have we've conducted studies and researched psychology, just generic principles, and I've been loving every minute of it, but there's a lot of different things. So in that article, we have a blog on snapplyphoto.com. At the very bottom, you click blog, and there's a decent amount of content. There's like 60 articles that I wrote in the last 8 months or something.
All your free time.
All the free time, right. And anyone's welcome to take any of that content and post it to wherever you're posting information to make yourself to market yourself. So there is no worries about copyright. This is really to bring more value to clients and the public. So if you're looking for some sort of subject to post on your LinkedIn or Facebook, just
rip off and duplicate.
Yeah, copy our stuff. It's fine. That's the whole point.
But you got into this point that really struck me, which was there's a bias that people have about the first thing they see or learn about a property. And once they get that in their head, it is really hard to get it out.
Yeah, so in my research, I stumbled upon these two guys, Amos Tversky and Danny Kahneman. They're researchers that led the movement in the 70s, maybe 60s, 80s, I don't know, a long time ago about the psychology of people. So you've heard a lot of different terms like confirmation bias and some other terms like that. They coined those terms. So I went and did a lot of study on them, and effectively, how does that apply to real estate listings and photography is that there's something called thin slicing. And that's when human beings take sort of their first impression of something and then automatically form an opinion on whatever they're seeing nearly immediately. And this doesn't take into account whether this is right or not. This is just sort of fact. You see something, you immediately form an opinion just by a very little amount of information that you have. So that's called thin slicing.
Then your brain fills in all these things that it assumes or it just invents.
Right, and then there's something called confirmation bias, which is what those two guys coined. And that means you as a person, based off of your initial impression, so that thin sliced impression, you are then subconsciously looking for information and data points to confirm that initial bias, that initial opinion. So rather than, if somebody is forming a positive opinion on your listing because of the very first image they see or first bit of data that they receive, rather than looking for reasons to object to not buy the house, they're actually looking for reasons to confirm why I'm so smart as a human. Like, I think this is a good listing, so I'm going to look for all these reasons to confirm my thoughts. And so knowing these little bits of psychology and buyer psychology and human behavior can benefit us as listing agents.
Yeah.
And so then it leads to like the anchoring effect, another term where if I see a good picture of a house and I think this is a good house, then everything I think of moving forward is that this is a good house, regardless of if it is or not. So if you have a bad photo on the first photo that people see, something that's not good, whatever it is that you think is good, right? Even if that listing is a good listing, people are going to think that it's a bad listing. Right. And a great example is my own house. 10 years ago, I bought a house out in Lakeview, and the photos were terrible. And it was a divorce, so when you went into the house, it was not prepared, it was not staged, there was, his and her piles on the floor. And so people are going in, and the lights were all off because there was no power because one of them didn't want to pay the bill. So just not a good showing. And so I remember thinking, I don't want to live here.
This is value.
But my father-in-law was with us, and he's a contractor, and he's looking at all these things, and then he's pointing out how great it is. And then you step back, and you have to force yourself to reform an opinion. And luckily, my opinion didn't really matter because my wife wanted to buy it anyway, so we were going to buy it. And now we, of course, love the house. It was a great choice.
So let's take the psychology and then let's apply that to photography and how we work better. So I'm thinking about listings that have been staying on for a long time, and maybe it's there's that old rider that a real estate brokerage puts that says, "I'm beautiful inside."
Oh yeah.
Which I always laugh at because it means I'm ugly AF outside, right?
Ignore the facade.
Like if you've got to put that up there, you're basically telling the person your baby is ugly, but they have a great personality. We'll keep them. So how do we, we've done our initial photos, maybe it hasn't lasted and we're trying to go reposition.
Yeah.
Is the thing to do to try to take a totally different photograph? Is it to ask you all to go back and change the first photograph to the nighttime look, I'm forgetting the name of it, the dusk?
Yeah.
Twilight, thank you. Like what is the play here? How do we do that? How do we start beating these things and represent ourselves?
So at that point, you're probably on the verge of having your listing agreement expire, right? So you're trying to make sure that you get that, what's it called, the re-up?
Renewal.
The renewal of your listing and not lose it to someone else who's going to do the same thing that you've done or even less, right? So the idea is, how can you go and tell your client that you're the right person for the job? And so you want to be able to sound smarter than the rest of the people. And so you could come with a bunch of different suggestions. Obviously, you're going to try to get that price reduction, but at the same time, you want to make sure you get it and not your competitors, right? So I would suggest even referring to these articles and sort of memorizing a couple of these psychological principles, and then say, well, because of this, maybe we just need to redo the marketing. And it's a very small investment to keep that listing agreement, right? So reshoot it all, but take a different approach. So, maybe you don't have a twilight picture. Get a virtual twilight. It's not that expensive. So that means the first photo is going to be completely different than what you had before. But then you can have the rest. I suggest taking new photos from perhaps different angles or the same angles or different staging. Use different colors on the bedding. Put different things in different locations in the kitchen, so it looks like a new listing. And so what ends up happening is that we of course know that there's a limited number of buyers out there, and especially in New Orleans from what I'm reading. You can reset it in the mind of these few select buyers so that when they see the listing and the new photos, they may think it's a different listing. So you may be able to help them subconsciously reset that confirmation bias that they may have gotten before. And so we are all worried about having stale listings, and it's been, in the days on market is now getting too high. What are we going to do? Well, all that still is there, but you're really trying to just change that mindset of the buyer, and you can use psychological principles to your benefit for pretty small investment.
Yeah, I love what you said, and I think I'm just going to complete the thought because I saw the pieces there. It was, I will, Mr. Seller, pay for all new marketing, or pay to kind of relaunch this listing and the marketing and new photos, and we go to Target and get some new bedding, and we're going to make things look different. Maybe not say Target, but I'll go do some things to help stage the house differently, and you will renew, and at the same time, in the same addendum, you're going to renew my listing agreement, and you're going to give me a price reduction. So I'm investing, you're investing, we're going forward together for a new contract together, or for an extension of the contract. Adam, this was the question time, yes.
Yeah, we're getting to questions now?
No,
So
just for you.
I have a question for Ken, or I guess on behalf of Ken and myself, is looking at the confirmation bias, knowing the condo that I owned here in New Orleans, and I know this MLS says you have to have a picture of your front door as the first photo, which I find interesting, but the exterior of the building, they was rode hard and put up wet.
Ooh,
and so
it's a family show.
That's tough when you're looking at that, and people have that bias of that building, not the best. But if you click to the next photo, then it's like, wow, this is drastically different than anything else in this building. So how is it that you can maneuver some of that and shed a bit of the biases that people have?
Yeah, it's just trying to get creative with that front shot. So you're required to do that. There's no way around it. But are there, I don't know exactly the building you're talking about, but there are different ways to take that shot. Maybe you invest in a drone so that it's a different angle and it captures some other benefits in the neighborhood, whatever that may be. Maybe you could position the photo so that's a little farther back and it's a little more sky. Then you do a virtual twilight. So now you're bringing in different colors, like a sunset color. So, and the exterior might be a little darker, so the deficiencies aren't, front and center. We're not lying, right? We're not creating something that's not there. We're not going in and editing and putting in new brickwork or something like that. It's just presenting it in a different manner.
Yeah.
Really
You're trying to write the story for them that they're going to write in their head.
Yeah,
And
right.
I think that's what a lot of great realtors do, is they are seeing kind of the matrix ahead of time for what that buyer is going to probably prejudge that listing as.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to do things that will purposefully fight that narrative from the first time they look at it.
Yeah, and so one of the notes that I had is, so one of the stats I found was humans form an emotional response to anything in 150 milliseconds. So like next to no time. And so a lot of us will equate a twilight to a calmer time. And so even though you're not changing the structure of the building, you can change that emotional response by your different approaches to the listing. And this is not just for this one particular listing, it's for any sort of reset or even new listings coming up. You know, the studies show that twilight photos absolutely get more clicks, and it's because they did a study they did eye tracking, and the human eye just automatically goes to that compared to the other photos. But then when it goes to that, if you're looking at it from the psychological perspective, you can create a whole different opinion so that you can get to that second photo and to the third photo. By the way, everyone knows that buyers spend more time on the photos than the description, but does anyone know the actual stats and percentages? No. So they spend like less than 20 seconds typically on every listing, and 60% of the time is on photos, but only 20% is reading your property description.
Is that the whole thing, or is that just the narrative? Like all the specs?
The property description.
Okay.
So
that's more than I expected on the property description.
Yeah.
Because those are terrible.
Well, you know, and then of course now
they're all written by ChatGPT.
Now they all have the long dashes written by ChatGPT.
Charming,
so,
which means small. Okay, so.
But by the way, on the ChatGPT, I use it daily, as should you. But when you are cutting and pasting the things that they write, that long dash. I don't know if everybody knows this.
Remove the footer that says, "Do you want me to edit or change this
Don't copy
more?"
everything, but there's a long. ChatGPT specifically loves the long dash in sentence structure. Yeah. Tell it don't use long dashes. Also tell it don't use negative sentence structure. You'll find that a lot of it starts off with the beginning part. You know, we don't often do this, or it's not always this way as a negative. And so those two things are absolute easy tells to know that it was written by AI. So I always lead with don't do this, and it won't do it.
Great tip there. Okay, so you had something else you wanted to talk about that was not psychology?
That was not psychology. I don't even know at this point, but
well,
last time I was here, we talked about trends and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think trends, and I also think Zillow is still continues to be a huge source of traffic for our listings.
Yeah.
We can have our own apps, we can do all these things, but Zillow is the 8 million pound gorilla in the deal. And you know, are we finding that the Zillow like optimized photos are working as well? Like what's happening there?
Yeah, so the two things that I sort of had prepared was one was specifically Zillow. You know, there's a lot of Zillow in the news, the clear cooperation, the listings and private listings, all that stuff. But it all boils down to, just like every single time I'm here, just ignore the noise. All of that stuff is important, but does it really, really impact your current clients? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I would say don't let that noise overshadow your responsibilities as an agent. And again, the agent is to sell the house. The listing is to get as many eyes on it as possible. So whether we agree with Zillow's stance or not, it still remains the best place to get eyeballs on your listing. All of that information is helpful to keep your listings in this day and age. Now that they're sitting a little longer, we have a little more competition, far fewer buyers. So being able to say, I have a Zillow 3D tour, it allows us to have a 24/7 open house of your house without bothering you. It's always online. It's on the world's most trafficked real estate site. Snappily is baked into Zillow now, so we could, when you order a Zillow 3D tour, we do it all for you. It's automatically there.
So we don't have to like go into Zillow and put a
it
URL
automatically goes there. All the photos automatically go there. You know, I don't know.
Like higher resolution photos. Is that what you're saying? It's not ripping from the MLS.
It depends on the market.
You're actually feeding it.
Yeah, it depends on the market and the relationship with the MLS.
Well, what about Nomar?
I think Nomar is set up so that it does pull from Nomar.
Nomar first. Yeah.
But
they're behind.
Yeah.
Shock.
So
Shock.
But the stats in the effectiveness of the Zillow 3D tour, also the stats are showing it. Of course, we need to take stats with a grain of salt because they're coming from Zillow. But I always like to say, even if you don't really trust it, can you divide it in two, the number in two, make it half of whatever they're saying? Is it a good thing or not? And they're saying something like 36%, better traffic, better conversions. So you divide that in half, you're still at 18%, 20%. Still a good number, even if it's not 36%. So I'm very skeptical of statistics.
All right, so then we've had kind of different swings in industry trends. During COVID, we wanted a ton of photos, right? Let them buy through the window, send a purchase agreement, don't even see it if they want to, or come one time and write a quick offer in the car. So we put 50 photos up of a 2,500 square foot house. And then post-COVID, we were trying to get back to real life, and we were like, let's put 8 photos, and let's try to get them back to the house to see the inventory. Yeah. And then now we're in this we just want anyone to buy. We don't really care. What do we do? You're like, I'll just take anybody. I don't want to make anyone not come, but I also want to make them feel like they understand the house. What's the right thing to do?
So we're in, I think, just under 30 states at this point, and so we work with brokers and agents, homeowners across the country. I think the last analysis I did a month or two ago, the average number of photos per listing is about 32, and that's nationwide. Locally, it tends to be lower, but to me, 25 to 30-ish on nearly any house is acceptable.
Doesn't matter per square foot.
I would say, if you have a 500 square foot condo on Julia, that's a little tougher, sure. But I would say on the flip side, even if you have a big 8,000 square foot multi-million-dollar mansion, I still wouldn't put 50 on it. Those houses tend to sell themselves, and the existing 25 photos that you have are going to be excellent because the decor is going to be excellent.
I'm so glad you said. I'm shocked.
You don't need to go that.
I'm shocked at agents that go take a $5 million listing or a $3+ million listing and they put 84 photos on. First of all, you just blew the security of that whole person's world, number one. They're probably already left the house, by the way, too. So having this conversation at your listing appointment, I think is very valuable. And 3, it's just people that aren't going to buy it that are going through all that. Yep. It's a small market. Those people know you need just enough photos to pull them in the door, right? Yep. And get people to your broker open and open houses if they want to really be. Look, okay. You okay to go to questions, or you got a couple trends to discuss?
One last trend, and it's the AI trend. I guarantee you, every day you're inundated with something about AI and how you need to be using AI, and there's other people going to be in my seat saying our new fancy CRM is AI based, and these are all the different tools as an agent you need to use, and you're like your head's spinning because you want to do it. Sales are perhaps down, so what else do I need to do? There is a new sort of, I don't want to say trend, but trend that I'm seeing that larger Fortune 500 companies are starting to pull back slightly on their investment in AI. And that this whole idea that AI is coming for everyone's jobs and everyone's going to be replaced, they're starting to see there is that human factor regardless of sort of what position. I'm not saying
I'm not worried about realtors. I'm really not worried about realtors at all.
Right, so it's that, but the reasoning is the human nature, right?
Yeah.
It's what you're bringing. And I would say as agents, we can, again, avoid the noise and remember it's what you're bringing. Use the tools to make things efficient. Use the app when you have a question because it's the AI is trained specifically for real estate. Do that, absolutely, but to rely too heavily on it or to think you're missing out, perhaps if you're not doing something, just sort of feel confident that there's still the human nature, and especially with real estate agents.
Right, people want to buy from people. I mean, I would be doing something else if I thought AI was coming for realtors. But I think what's going to happen is a single agent is going to become super deadly that uses AI. Because if 60 to 70% of a single agent's time is spent doing administrative tasks,
Yeah.
And you can start to get 10 hours back from an automated TC instead of having to hire a assistant, that sort of thing.
Yep.
You start, your dollar per hour goes way up, things, and
Yeah, there's
I see a lot
efficiency
happening.
tools, absolutely. But again, it's just
They're not quite there.
Just don't freak out. I have a
Yeah.
tendency of seeing what everyone else is doing and perhaps,
Yep.
oh, wait, am I missing the boat? I think for now, there's going to be a lot of things, and the cream will certainly rise to the top. And Jeffrey and Cody are here to make sure that that stuff is what you see instead of having to filter everything else.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we try to do that for you. David, go ahead.
I just had a quick question about homes.com. I know you're talking about how you're like, I don't really care about, like, you didn't mention homes.com. So tell me about that, what you're doing there.
So with homes.com, I'm not focused too much on it, to be blunt. They acquired Matterport, of course, and so
I don't think that is really known and understood.
So
Why don't you back us up? Maybe Andy, I don't know how much you.
So the parent company of homes.com owns a number of different companies. They were traditionally in the commercial side of real estate. Then they bought homes.com, and they're moving heavy into the residential side of it.
So this is CoStar.
Yep.
Andy Florence is the founder and CEO. He's the longest serving CEO of a publicly traded company on Wall Street right now. This guy is like,
He's a genius.
You know, like we say like
think he is.
what do you call a batter that hits 300 throughout his career, a Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Like this guy hits like 800 and has done it for a long time. That's why I think you saw Gary put him up on stage and get interested, and we're trying to watch him very carefully, because what this guy does usually works, and he put a bazooka of money into marketing and into homes.com.
Right. So, and then they acquired Matterport, but about
Which takes 3D photos, remember that?
So
Okay.
it's their version of the Zillow 3D tour.
You can't use the same one. You have to use the same camera, but it has to be connected differently.
And I always say this, Matterport 3D Tour is far better in terms of a user experience than the Zillow 3D Tour. But is that enough to outweigh the traffic and the ease of use and the cost effectiveness of the Zillow 3D Tour? That's up to you to decide. And we offer both. We do Matterport as well, but I personally push the Zillow 3D Tour. I think it's more bang for your buck. But anyway, so what's going on? Why am I not focused a lot on homes.com? 6-8 weeks ago, they put out, if it was their earnings or some sort of public decree, basically. And if you read between the lines, it basically said the $1 billion or whatever it is that we were committing to marketing homes.com did not translate into the traffic that $1 billion should have translated into. I wish I could remember the stats. Mike Del Prete certainly has it, but he basically said that this press release basically said it didn't work. Investors or ownership does not like the return. We're actually going to be firing a whole lot of people on this side of things, and we're going to try to figure out something that works. But even with that $1 billion bazooka that you were talking about, it didn't break that much into Zillow.com.
I actually
And
think
also messaging.
They made a lot of interesting choices. Remember, they said, first of all, anyone that comes bearing gifts, and I purposely opened that big orange box up here one meeting that had balloons in it and the world's largest press release. Remember they said that? I did that for a reason, and it was to get your attention. And they wanted to get our attention, and I wanted to get your attention that these people are coming in, and they're coming in hot.
Yep.
Well, what's really happened? They've thrown, I don't know what, I think they've thrown like 2/3 of that billion down the drain already with Super Bowl ads and the expensive, and they're rounding that billion up to include the acquisition cost and of HomeSnap and stuff like that, but didn't really translate. Redfin, what just happened to them? They sold to Rocket. Rocket Mortgage. Redfin has how many agents across the country at the time of acquisition? Anybody know? 5,300. You would think they're tremendous. The way people talk about Redfin, you would think they were absolutely tremendous, right? But they're not.
That's it? 5,300 They're always top of the search results.
Right.
Yep.
And they built a great website. But they were really just another internet lead gen system that didn't quite work. What's happening with Realtor.com prices? If you want to go advertise right now on Realtor.com, you will pay less per lead than you've paid since back in the early aughts. Like, it is way, way down. Why? It's not converting. Why did a lot of people who got Homes.com subscriptions not renew? Agents not renew? Because we weren't getting the value, weren't getting the traffic. Then they acquired Matterport, and they said, we'll give you the free Matterport, but it doesn't get to go anywhere else. So I said, well, I'm not going to sit there with you and watch you spend 2 hours making an old Matterport that I can't put out on the MLS, that I got to direct to Homes.com. So everyone's making all these decisions, and Compass is doing the same thing. And I don't want to get you in trouble with any of your other clients, but Compass is saying, we are a website, we're not a brokerage. They don't say those words, but what they're doing is they're trying to create a listing service that only is available on Compass.com. Okay, it's not about their agents, it's not about their clients. It's about them creating the second portal. And that is the fight right now. Portal 1 is Zillow, and everybody else wants to be the second portal. And we saw what a big influx of money Homes.com did, beating out Realtor.com. Really, that was probably a bad thing. We probably just disintegrated the traffic. People didn't know where to go. And now they said, oh, I got to just go back to Zillow, when they were really happy with Realtor.com and felt like that was an insider name. That's just my opinion, by the way. A lot of this is all my opinion. So, informed opinion. But I would tell you, we can't fight Zillow. What we have to do is make sure we are staying together as an industry. And I'm really concerned when the CEO of Compass comes out, like he did last week, and says, we are no longer listening to the rules of NAR or following them if we don't see fit. And I haven't seen one MLS shut them off. Because if we did that, or any other brokerage in the country, what would happen? We would be shut out really fast, and they would whoop us, and we would deserve it because we've signed a contract and we paid dues to be a part of something. So I think there's a major, this is a big gamble that he's making.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're breaking the machine down. I'm sorry to say it, but I think the machine is broken, and I think it's going to reinvent itself. I think that the lawsuits really broke it down with all this bullshit with commissions and how they're getting paid, and say, hey, we don't like your model at all. We're going to see who's going to come out and play. And I think it's going to be fun to see in the next 15 years how this plays out.
Look, Cody and I were on the phone.
NAR is probably just going to go by the wayside, which is too bad because they do offer us some things up at the state level. But
look, NAR going by the wayside.
You don't really feel it. You don't feel it here locally. I'm just saying.
NAR, I'm going to push back real hard on that. That almost ticks me off to hear that. And I'm not mad at you, of course, but I hate hearing that because that's like the people who are saying, let's just throw government out because they don't do enough or they don't call the weather perfectly every single time. Whereas they actually do a ton. NAR does a ton. And if you look at our housing industry in America, this is the most valuable land in the entire world. It's seen price appreciation that you can take to the bank. And the rest of the world does not have the real estate market we have. There's maybe certain countries like Monaco that have very limited supply that can argue they've had bigger appreciation. But the United States is the most valuable land in the world.
And our mortgage laws and all this
but
has
it's
come
NAR
because
shaping
of a
that.
$1 billion lobby.
It's a bigger picture.
This is the biggest lobby in the country.
I'm not getting into that. It's great from the bigger picture of things. I agree with you. I don't think on a local level you see that. That's all.
Next week we have
a lady coming from NOMAR,
yeah.
who's the chief legislative affairs person. Well, it's going to be worth listening to. We'll challenge her. Anyway, go back to you. Sorry for that long walk.
Yeah, my opinion on that is just go to Snapply Photo and order photos. I'm staying out of that.
I was about to say, we love having you because you don't pitch, talk your book. So great job there.
Just taking care of so make sure our listings show up well.
Cody, go ahead.
Truly bringing it back though, tell me more on doing a 3D of the home. It's just like, I'm kind of on Jeffrey's side. It's like we want to get them there to fill it more than and we're okay to go open a lot of doors right now. Do you have stats around that?
Yeah.
I mean, what
Well, we should be okay.
Yeah, I mean,
we
I'm
should be
sorry.
okay to open doors because it's only 2.3 showings to closing right now.
But even if
it's
it's-
crazy.
even
They're
if it's-
not even going to see it. So
even
the
if it's 20, I'm
photography,
fine.
I think, is more important than ever.
So is there a way to see how many times your tour has been viewed? Is there a way that we can see that data?
No.
I don't think Zillow allows you to puts that out. I can look into it a little bit.
There was a company that was they've been hitting us with emails about sending us data on where our listings are being viewed.
Yeah.
They still haven't entered our marketplace yet. You've seen that?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
So you're deep into that, right?
Yeah.
And I've even sent them an email. You send me these emails, but hey, you can't sign up. So
Yeah.
I just would be interesting. Like, there's no way to talk about data and really show there's value here.
It would be great
That's
if we
nice.
knew
Yeah.
what picture people were leaving on, just like on an
Right.
Instagram story, like if they leave or not, and which one they leave on, and seeing the views.
I think that is, having that data is important, though oftentimes telling that to your client, they just start to glaze over. They don't want to hear too many stats, but having something, I do believe, is better than nothing. But to go back to the Zillow, so some stats on Zillow, it generates 75% more views and shares when you have a 3D tour on Zillow. And so what's my opinion on it? We don't need the 3D tour to do listing or showings, as you were talking about. You're not ordering a Zillow 3D tour for the actual product. The fact that it's not as good as Matterport, I don't think really matters. The only reason you're doing it is because Zillow gives priority rankings to listings that have a Zillow 3D tour.
There it is.
So in the end, that's to me what you're paying for, and to be able to tell your clients that you're getting priority rankings. Now, of course, there is something called Showcase, which is a far bigger investment, much more expensive per listing. That gets you at the very top of absolutely everything, and the stats on that are showing pretty good returns. But again, how trustworthy are these returns when they're coming from the people that you're paying?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
You know, the easier access to just a normal 3D tour for a relatively low price, that to me is worth the investment to get that ranking than the
It's like
Showcase is
getting
something
80%.
different.
The
Yeah.
next 20%
Yeah.
is really expensive. All right, Adam, last question, so make it a good one. Oh, Cindy's got the mic. Sorry.
Okay, you teach real estate at Tulane, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now what aspect of real estate do you teach about?
So I'm teaching 3 different classes. I teach a real estate technology class that I wrote and developed based off of what is technology doing to real estate, how is it changing it, and there's some historical perspective. It talks about, these are for, that class is, these are for college kids.
Okay.
They don't have much background, so to understand the portal wars, that sort of thing, to understand where the MLS came from, that sort of thing. That's that class. I teach a very basic real estate brokerage class that is similar to your pre-licensing classes that you had to take.
Right.
But it's not that specific. It's just a more generic class because, again, a lot of these kids have never bought and sold
That's a
anything.
popular
They
class.
don't know.
I mean, that was a
we
pretty
had-
well
yeah,
attended.
we maxed that out at 25, and then this coming fall I'm teaching Intro to Real Estate. It's one of the first classes that students in the real estate development program have to take, and it covers everything: real estate financing, acquisitions, all these different things. And there's about 55 kids signed up for that now.
I bet.
shouldn't say kids, but that's
Young
that's
adults.
that's what it feels like to me.
Darryl, I got a question about your service overall. When I look at it, I've used your company and I use other photographers, and I probably use you more, but I think my biggest concern when it comes to photographers is I think that there's a real lack of customer service when it comes to at least how I do my business, right? So when I do a business, like my job is to call the professional, and the professional goes and I set up the appointment, and the professional confirms their appointment, and the professional goes and does their job, right? What I've found with some of the photographers is that the professional doesn't want to do their job. They want me to come back into the whole pie and do their job for them. Which is like, well, I just my job to get back and call the client again and make sure that everything is 100% with the house and that they're going to get ready to photograph, or something come up with the schedule, right? And I'm just wondering how you look at that and how your company handles that on a professional level with the customer service or lack thereof.
I could talk for hours on that, so let me try to hit some highlights and keep it short. But everyone has their own opinion. We've got 10,000 clients around the country, active clients, and people want different levels of exactly what you're saying. And so to be able to build a profitable company that's automated as much as possible, you have to just sort of choose a baseline, right? And so one of the main, to build the automation, you have to have certain assumptions also that your company is choosing. One of the assumptions that we're choosing is that whoever places the order is Snaply's client. So using your example, if you place the order, you're the client. So we communicate directly with you, the agent, who placed the order. So you'll get the email confirmation, you order and book everything there. Every communication is between us and you. We also have an additional note section so that if you want to remove yourself from the equation and you say, please contact the homeowner's so-and-so, and here's their phone number to confirm, we have full-time customer service that receives those and will review it and make those calls. But again, pardon me?
You do that the day of, day before. What would you do? What is your model look like?
The model is you get an email saying this is confirmed, we will be there tomorrow at noon, and we will be there tomorrow at noon. We have internal reminders for the photographers to know, don't forget, you have this shoot tomorrow, you have this shoot today. But in terms of reaching out to the client, you've made the appointment, it's confirmed, no other changes are needed. We will see you then there. If you want us to confirm with homeowners that is outside the automation, all you have to do is make a note. And we, if that's something you want to do, we highly recommend it. For things like that, we have a phone number. It's at the bottom of the webpage. Call us and just say, I place X number of orders, or this is my order number, or hey, I'm going to be ordering from you every month. Whenever you see an order, this is what I want you to do, and talk to us. We have humans there for a reason when things are out of that automation. And so, the communicating with the homeowner is something we don't typically do unless asked to by the agent. Another way to get around that is have the agent place the order. Have your client place the order. If you want them to be entirely responsible, have all the emails, get the photos.
If they're not paying for it.
We can have a coupon. We can create a coupon code specifically for you that bills you and not them. There's things that we can do.
Specifics,
Right.
right.
Just to understand your mechanics, because I've just seen this as to be a big issue.
Well, look, Darryl's going to be around after for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Grab him. I think this is, I can't, and look, to play the other side of it, I can't imagine not being there for photos. And of all the things that I'm happy to leverage out, I think if I'm taking a listing, it's my duty to be there to supervise, because I'm the one that's got to go answer the question when the client's ticked about how their photos look, and they say, were you there? And I say, no. Well, I'm purposefully illustrating the difference between us, and I'm not saying you're wrong, okay? What I'm doing is exactly. These are choices and I was talking to someone this morning about the way we let agents create their own business model and value proposition. This is that. Okay.
One more comment to that. The way, and again, an active choice on how we built Snaply. We built Snaply to scale and to grow as big as we can. So that means automatically deciding to not do certain things. And I think perhaps our model might not be what you're looking for, and that's okay, right? We're always here for you if you need it. But if you need something that's a little more hand-holding, that's a negative connotation, but I'm not. A
higher degree of leverage.
A higher degree of connection, and to be able to text the specific photographer rather than contacting customer service. That's probably why you're using another photographer rather than us on every single one. And you know what? That's okay. There's plenty of business out there for everyone, and we encourage people to use whomever ticks that box for you, as long as you're using a professional photographer.
Great answer. We got to go fast. Quick, John.
I just wanted to say I just used y'all. It was so easy. There's a note section. You get a what to expect email. The photographer shows up on time. It was seamless, and she had them back to me next day.
That's Very helpful. Thank you. Adam, take us home with the final.
Okay.
You're good?
You
Okay.
got it.
All right, thank you,
Glad that we all
Darryl.
stayed.
I really appreciate it. Okay.